fastest growing addiction recovery podcast in the world. Ooh, I did it good again that time. Wow, really getting the hang of this thing. So today, I think I've said this for the third time in a row. This is the 34th episode. And I've been promising you guys a solo episode. I made one a couple weeks ago and I hated it. My energy was just down low, which happens, right? And it's actually goes into a little bit of our topic today, which is going to be the winter solstice, right? And the darkness that comes with winter and the rebirth and the changing of the seasons, right? And the introspection that happens or can happen during this time. It's a great time to do that. And so a little bit of history of Christmas we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the philosophical idea of winter and how we can bring that into our daily lives. We're going to talk about staying sober over the holidays. That's a good one. When I started my magazine many, many years ago now, that was one of my favorite not episode. Now I want to say episode because it's a podcast, but volumes that I came out with was our Christmas ones, and we talked a lot about that. So staying sober over the holidays. And so I told you guys in the last episode that I started my job as a supervisor. So it's been going pretty good. They made me wear heels today, which I told them, I don't know how you expect me to go into an encampment in these, but they all thought I looked very cute. I will not be doing that regularly. But it has been so far so good. I passed my classes. I got an A in corporate finance. What's up? What's up? I cannot believe I got an A. When I started that class, I thought I was going to fail. I was concerned. That was the first time I had a genuine concern over a class. So that went really, really good. My other class got a B because I was totally disengaged because my teacher did not respond the entire semester, which to me is insane that we have to pay the same price for that kind of class as we do for an online versus in-person class. That's just kind of, whoever runs for president, if you're listening, you should really fix that. If you're not going to do anything else, you should do something about that. But anyway, so the other day, I was looking into the history of Christmas, right? And I had no idea that the Christmas that we all know and love and many of us celebrate is a total new American thing. And maybe I'm alone and I was just the only idiot that didn't know that. But I was telling my boyfriend and he didn't know that. And I was telling a couple people and they had no idea. And so I thought the history of Christmas was so interesting and fun. I thought it'd be a great topic to speak about since it has a lot of roots in pagan history and Christianity. And it's just super, super interesting. So without further ado, thank you so much to our sponsor, Quick Intel, who continues to sponsor this wonderful podcast. Crypto is up right now. Thank the Lord, right before Christmas. Hallelujah. And keep your crypto and money safe by using Quick Intel. They have a hub of AI, crypto, and safety and security tools that you can use to make sure that scammers don't get the best of you. Check out quickintel.io today. You can also download them on your iOS or Android app, and they have lots and lots of, like I said, different AI tools to just kind of check each contract and each cryptocurrency that you may be interested in to just make sure that it is a solid investment. So, the history of Christmas. Fascinating journey of Christmas that has really evolved over the centuries, blending ancient traditions with religious significance. Contrary to popular belief, as I just said, Christmas we know today was not always a global phenomenon. Before the familiar nativity scenes and, of course, Santa, ancient cultures like the Norse and the Egyptians celebrated the winter solstice with customs such as dragging large Yule logs. They would bring these large logs into the house, and they would typically burn for 12 days. The ancient people would bring evergreens inside the home. These evergreens would symbolize the life in dark times. Even great structures like Stonehenge correlated to the sun's position on the winter solstice. So this day has a lot of significance in history. As far back as we really can even see anything, right? As far back as all the megaliths that we have uncovered, the winter solstice was really important to the ancient people. And I guess why I got into this is because I started thinking of our ancestors, right? And I guess for most of my life, I always considered my ancestors to be obviously my mom, my dad, my grandparents, and my great-grandparents, because those are the ancestors that I have met and that I know. But the reality is that my ancestors come from Germany. They come from Europe. And even though I never really thought of it that way, they go back, generations and generations, and they had all of these different traditions that have long definitely been forgotten, especially when so many people, took to the seas to come for a new life in America. But I just wanted to get connected with those ancestors and those traditions because I thought they were so cool. So anyway, one intriguing tradition observed by many different cultures. This is one of my favorite things that when I was looking up the winter solstice and all the different events that so many different cultures and traditions had. The coolest one was their 12 days of partying. Now, this might remind you of the 12 days of Christmas. You're going to see a lot of correlations here, right? You have the evergreen that they would bring inside. We have an evergreen that we bring inside. You have the 12 days of partying. Now you have the 12 days of Christmas, right? So in Rome, they would celebrate, I think it's called Saturnalia. So basically like the Saturn god or something like that. And social roles were reversed, with slaves becoming masters. Similar role reversals occurred during medieval fests of fools and mummers' plays in Europe. So during these times, even though the slaves would still cook the food, they would be served the food by the masters, and they would hang out and eat with the masters. And there was just like a huge reversal of roles during this time, and it would last the full 12 days. When Christianity gained prominence, the worship of sun gods waned, and December 25th became Jesus' official birthday. Now, Christians did not always celebrate the holy birth of Christ. Most of the celebration was for Jesus' resurrection. And since there was some debate whether Jesus was actually even born in December, they think more likely he was born in the spring. They always kind of celebrated that rebirth of his resurrection. But in the case of Christmas, the celebration of Jesus' birth was intentionally, allegedly, possibly, placed close to existing pagan festivals to facilitate the conversion of non-Christians. And now, I feel like pagan's such a dirty word. I don't know why. It just seems like, witchcraft. But really, what is it? It's the believing in things that we can see, right? I always think when I go walk my dog at night, I have this beautiful view of the stars because behind my house, there's just an abandoned golf course that's really large, so there's no lights, and on the other side of the golf course is really not much until you hit the ocean, so I can see the stars pretty well. And I always think, wow, when our ancestors were looking up, not only did they see what we're looking at, but they saw so much more because there was no light pollution, right? And I bet it was truly magical. So the pagans believed in things that they could see: the sun, the moon, the rotation of the stars, the changes in nature, death and life and all of that stuff. And that's what they prayed to, and that's what they believed in, and that was their gods, right? And I don't think there's anything bad or witchcrafty about that. I think it makes probably a lot of sense. And I just want to also say that I don't not believe in Jesus or anything. I believe Jesus was a real person who was around, and people were loving him, and obviously they still love him to death. Or we wouldn't have his photos everywhere and churches worshiping him everywhere. I love religion. I think it's super cool. Obviously, the Bible is the oldest book that we have, and it's really interesting to read and see how the thoughts of 2,000 years ago can correlate so well, even with life still today. I think that's really beautiful. But back to Christmas. So, in the case of Christmas, the celebration of Jesus' birth was intentionally placed, possibly, close to existing pagan festivals to facilitate the conversion of non-Christians. Over time, many of the pagan elements merged with Christian traditions, leading to the celebration of Christmas as we know it today. The Roman Church made December 25th Jesus' official birthday. And that was during the 4th century. And before that, the same day was the feast day of the Nativity. And they were celebrating the goddess of fertility and birth and stuff like that. The evergreens became decorated now at this time in history with apples to represent the Garden of Eden. And holly was recast for Christ's crown of thorns. So they started to take things that were already being used in the tradition and just kind of started to put a little twist on it, right? Yes, we bring in an evergreen, but we also put on apples in the evergreen to represent this treacherous woman who ruined everything for everybody. Anyway, so now there was a big fight that was coming. Okay, so basically the Christians are like, listen, bro, we're not doing this fucking partying shit. It's crazy. Like, that is sinful. That is bad. And everyone else is like, we've been partying for centuries. Like, this winter solstice is the longest night. And then after that, the, days become longer and we know that spring is coming. So as I mentioned before, these 12 parties, some of these parties were, like I talked about, the Roman Saturnalia, a festival dedicated to the god of Saturn, was a major Roman celebration held in late December. One of the notable features was the temporary reversal of social roles. So slaves were allowed to become masters, and the normal rules of Roman society were suspended. It was a time of feasting, merrymaking, and general atmosphere of revelry. Like, I love that. Let's go back. Let's go back. Then there was the Feast of Fools in medieval Europe. Especially during the Feast of Fools, a similar reversal of roles occurred. Subdeacon or lower-ranking clergy would temporarily take the roles of high bishops or other higher-ranking church officials, and this tradition was part of a calendar that was intended to inject humor and satire into the solemnness of religious celebrations. Mummers plays in European cultures, including England, Ireland, and Wales. Mummers plays were performed during the Christmas season, and these were folk plays that were characterized by exaggerated characters, often involving the temporary inversion of social roles. For example, a man might play the role of a woman and vice versa. And last but not least, one of my faves is the Lord of Misrule. Another tradition that involved a reversal of roles was the appointment of the Lord of Misrule during certain festive occasions. This person, often a servant or commoner, would be appointed to oversee the revelries and festivities, with the usual authority figures taking a back seat. And like, how interesting to think that they did that so many years ago. The people that we deal with now would never give up an ounce of power, not even for an hour. And for 12 days, the kings and queens and the nobles would give up this power to the common folk to let them rule and let them run the party and run the show. And I was thinking, how could we do that role of reversals today? What is a thing like that makes sense in the 21st century? I really can't even think. I was like, well, what if the homeless feed us? And then I'm like, that's fucked up. I don't know. What do you guys think? Comment it down below. So now all this is going on, right? There's partying happening, but Christianity is going everywhere, and that's growing. So now in Puritan England, this celebration was considered so unruly, it was done away with altogether. They're like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. You're all going to hell. This is not cool, right? So they were like, we're getting rid of this 12 days of party. But by the Middle Ages, at this point, Christianity had really taken over most of Europe and a lot of places. So the holiday was still more ruckus than religious before the 1800s. And if you were to go to one of these parties now, if you were to go back in time, I think they say it would look like a Mardi Gras or a New Year's Eve or a vibe like that, right? It was kind of like a carnival vibe. There was just drunk people everywhere and unholy activities. Beggars were put in charge, and it was just a wild time. They even have stories of beggars would go to rich men's home, noble homes, and bang on the door, and basically that noble person or whoever, royalty, would have to give them the best of everything they had, the best of their clothing, the best of their food, and if they didn't, they might have to reap some consequences. So, with all this debauchery going on, the Puritans were pissed. They're like, bro, no, this cannot happen anymore. So, in the 17th century, they vowed to rid England of all decadence. Top of the list was Christmas. They were like, we got to get rid of this shit. So, in 1652, they outlawed it altogether, making Christmas go underground. So that's why they started, instead of whatever holiday pie, they would call it mince pie, but tasted just as good, right? Maybe they were too scared that they'd have a little fun and then their souls would be lost forever. I don't know. But there was a deep need for celebration in times of darkness. And this deep need for celebration during these winter months gave Christmas some real wins. Now, I'm not like a historic major. Like, I don't really know everything that was happening around this time, but I'm pretty sure at some point, like, they got rid of the monarchy, and there was like no king. And basically, the men of Canterbury, sounds so cute, would love to go there. The men of Canterbury said if they couldn't have Christmas, they're going to bring the king back. And that's what they did. They literally brought the king back. They restored the monarchy because they could live without a king, but they could not live without Christmas. Now, just so everyone, I'm sure you're all aware, I have not said one thing about Santa or a reindeer, right? Until now. So through all of these centuries and centuries, Christmas looked nothing like how we envision, or at least how I envision Christmas today. So the Puritans came to Plymouth Rock, and even more religious than they were in Europe, they wanted to rid themselves of the Christmas scourge. They outlawed Christmas spirit in America, and anyone exhibiting Christmas spirit was fined 5 shillings. What is that in today's money? Can someone please put that in the comments? I would love to know. But not all colonies were like that, right? What do we have? 13 original colonies. So Captain Smith, he made the colony in Jamestown, I believe, had the first New World Christmas, and they enjoyed oysters. And this was actually where they were the first to drink eggnog as a Christmas drink, which got its name from nog, which means grog, which means any drink with rum. So, but after 1789, Congress and all these people, they sat in session for 67 years with no holidays, no real holidays on the calendar. In the 19th century, though, America would invent its own Christmas and would reinvent Christmas for the world. So in like New York City in 1820, this was like during the Industrial Revolution, things were like kind of popping, right? New York City became the center of American commerce, and the Industrial Revolution also created large class divides. And because of this, there was big riots in the street, actually. There was a riot so bad in 1928 that at Christmas time the next year, they had to create and implement an entire police force because of the previous year's savage Christmas rioting. The upper class were really worried, so they wanted to change the way the holiday was celebrated. They were like, oh no, we can't be like having this like craziness go on. Like, what are we going to do? So slowly but surely, they started to implement new Christmas traditions. And think about that. That was not that long ago. 1928, they were still doing the carnival type parades and stuff like that. Like, that was not that long ago. In 1843, they printed the first Christmas card, which these Christmas cards, guys, they were like sensations. It was like the internet, okay? Because they were like, had the post office was popping, right? They were like figuring out how to bring things places quickly. I don't know. I wasn't there, but allegedly these Christmas cards were a freaking hit. People were loving these Christmas cards and sending them out to people. And then on top of that, there were strict Victorians who were here, but, you know, everyone likes to have a little rule break once in a while. So they weren't allowed to kiss or anything, but of course on Christmas, they created what? Mistletoe, so they could kiss on Christmas. And so everyone, by mid-century, Christmas was everywhere. Everyone was celebrating it except the church. There were no like Christmas masses or anything like that back then. That did not exist. But what happened was there was a lot of pressure put on the Puritans to offer Christmas church services. Most Americans at that time were Protestants, and they ignored Christmas for a year, but people really yearned for this. They yearned for like a way to like worship their God and to put meaning into the holiday. And so eventually the church became open on Christmas and started to have Christmas Mass. And last but not least, the final addition to American Christmas was Santa. So our Christmas tree comes from Germany. Our cards that we send out, our Christmas cards, are a tradition from England. But Santa, that is a America tradition, 100,000,000,000% all the way, as well as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, of course. So this changed everything. So before Santa, there was obviously St. Nicholas. There was a St. Nicholas Day on December 6th, and children would wake up and there'd be gifts. And in Holland, there was a Sinterklaas. And in 1822, there was a poem written about a good-natured saint who would come down a chimney and bring gifts to the children. And this is like where Christmas came from. And ever since that, Americans have loved Christmas. It's not the party that it was before. Of course, towards the 1950s, like it became more of like a family holiday, right? Where you just spend time with those that you love and eat a great dinner and open gifts and stuff like that. And also, it's a consumerism vibe, right? And we can't not talk about that part. That where is Santa? At the department store. The saint of Christmas hangs out in the mall. Whatever. So they can, it was good, but that's our country. We're our consumers, and that's the kind of country that we have. So I guess it would make sense that Santa would be at the mall. But so yeah, and now it's what it is today, what is Christmas today? I don't even know. Are you even allowed to say Merry Christmas? They say keep the Christ in Christmas. I think you should remind those people that Christ wasn't even in Christmas till 100 years ago. What's up? Just saying, just throwing it out there. But, I think for me, why I wanted to give you guys a history on Christmas is because I do believe traditions are important. And I believe creating your own traditions that mean something to you are important. Maybe you are not down with organized religion, right? Maybe that's not your cup of tea. But maybe you can appreciate the earth and the sun and the moon and the darkness of winter and what that actually means, right? And so I was thinking about that. What does this darkness represent? Philosophically, right? And the rebirth that's associated with winter. And really, it can be a reflection of the cyclical nature of life and the human experience, right? So it's a symbol of transformation. The darkness of winter represents a period of introspection, reflection, and transformation. And just as nature undergoes a quiet and inward phase, humans may use the winter metaphorically to reflect on personal growth, challenges, and a potential for renewal. In China, they also celebrate the winter solstice, and this is when they start eating dumplings because they're hearty and warm and yummy, and they want to give their body, I don't know a lot about Chinese religion, but something about yin and yang, and then I guess the winter time is where more positivity is coming through the yang, so they want to feed it, and dark foods are good for this, whatever, but they be messing with them dumplings hard, and that sounds delicious. I'm down for dumplings on Christmas, okay? So beyond transformation, we have the cyclical nature of existence, right? Winter with its darkness and rebirth in the spring embodies the cyclical nature of existence. Life is a series of cycles, including birth, growth, decay, and regeneration. Embracing the winter phase acknowledges the inevitability of change and the importance of adaptation. Resilience, the dormant period of winter, allows for the renewal of energy and strength. Similarly, facing challenges and darkness in life can lead to resilience and personal growth. The rebirth associated with winter can be a reminder that after difficult times, there is a potential for new beginnings and positive transformations. And in many ancient cultures, right, when bad things would happen to you, that would be a good thing. They would look at it as a good thing because really those hardships in life and all that darkness, what it really does is it creates a rebirth and it creates resilience in the human experience. And it's a balance of opposites, which is everything in nature. That is everything in nature. Why would we be any different? Are we not nature? So, the interplay of light and darkness and growth and decay, it's essential for balance. And winter's darkness is integral to the contrast that makes the arrival of spring and renewal so profound. This duality underscores the interconnectedness of opposing forces in life. You can't have good without bad. We can't have the light without dark. So we have to appreciate all of it, right? And impermanence. Nothing lasts forever. Just like the seasons change. If you're going through a bad something in life, right, that's going to change too. If you're going through a good moment in life, that's unfortunately going to change too. That is life. That is what we go through. And so it really provides a framework for contemplating the beauty and meaning found in both challenging and uplifting aspects of the human journey. And so I thought that was really nice when I was kind of reflecting on what winter is. Now, granted, I don't really get to experience winter because I'm in Florida. The only thing that dies here when it gets cold is an iguana. And guess what? The sun brings that bitch back to life just like Narcan. I swear to God. We have these invasive iguanas. They can be like 10 feet long. They're unbelievable. They're dinosaurs. They're like leftover dinosaurs, okay? And when it gets really cold, the other day I was at work and an iguana fell out of the tree because it like freezes, but not like to death, but it's not alive. And then if a lot of people will collect the iguanas and then they'll come alive. One of my friends had one of these dead iguanas in his car and then it came back alive. So be careful if you're ever in Florida and you're not a native and you see like, I don't know why you would do this, but people do. If you see a dead iguana and you go, ooh, I'm going to eat that. Let me take that home. You need to chop its head off. I'm not sure if that's how you kill it, but you get what I'm saying. It's not really dead. But yeah, so it's kind of weird to kind of have Christmas in Florida. And I always think like, and I tried to look this up. So if anybody knows the answer, comment that down below. Also, like, what was the winter solstice like in the swamplands where I live? Like, what did they do here? I mean, I guess the sun and the moon and all that stuff was like the same, but I don't know. We don't really experience that darkness that comes with winter, which I'm so grateful for. But I also do yearn for it and do miss it. Maybe not like a whole winter. That sounds like a lot. But yeah. So I was just in New York for Thanksgiving. We went to the Macy's Day Parade. We had such a good time. And I got to see my aunt when I was up there and go to the farm. And it was so nice just to be upstate and to be in nature. And I feel like, of course, Florida has so much nature. I mean, we have the beaches, we have the swamps, we have alligators. I don't know. What else is here? Like swimming holes? I don't know. I don't feel like there's a lot. I'm not going to lie. There's like, I guess, do we have deer? I guess there's some deer around. There's a coyote behind my house, like a pack of coyotes behind my house. So that's like nature-like, yeah. But, anyway, it's nice to be able to celebrate these things in the northern areas. And so, yeah, moving on to the next topic I have is how to stay sober and mentally healthy over the holidays. Now, staying sober and mentally healthy during the holidays can present its challenges for anybody. So it's important to plan, to have support. And if you do those things, it's super, super duper achievable. So I've written down some strategies to help you navigate the holiday season. First of all, plan ahead. One of my favorite sayings, improper planning leads to poor performance. Yesterday, though, I heard, fail to plan to fail. Yeah, sure. Improper planning leads to poor performance. It's funner to say. Yes, I know, it's not a word. But plan ahead. So, A, create a schedule. Plan your days, including activities and social events to minimize downtime or potential boredom. If you're going back home or you're going to an area outside of where you normally stay, look up your meetings there, whether that's 12-step meetings or your Buddhist meetings that I just learned about or Smart Recovery, whatever you do, or church, whatever it is, go find that in the area that you're going to before you actually go there. Have a plan in place, right? Have your list of individuals that you can contact if you need to contact them. Do all of these things prior to getting into a situation where you're uncomfortable. You want to avoid high-risk situations the best you can, right? They say people, places, and things. Playgrounds, playmates, playthings. You definitely don't want to probably go back home and go, I'm going to go to my old watering hole and see my friends. That could be dangerous. Or you could be in a position where you're okay because you have done enough to have in my opinion, a spiritual experience, and that's no longer an issue for you. But that is... you got to be careful. It's important to be careful. So, and of course, you can bring a sober friend for support, or just a family member. They don't have to be sober to support you, right? Avoid high-risk situations. have an exit plan. So if you are going to your family and you know that your family like drives you insane. I have a friend who, whenever she goes home for the holidays, she gets so frustrated that they keep like nagging her to death about being in a relationship, and it makes her feel terrible, right? So we need to come up with exit strategies like, I have this 8 o'clock meeting I have to go to. Oh, I have this Zoom I got to jump on. Oh, I'm so tired. I need to take a shower and go to bed, right? Come up with an exit strategy. So that you don't have to stay in an uncomfortable situations and you can plan a graceful exit. A support system. So like we spoke about a little bit before, this would be a good time to get those phone numbers. 2 people might be busy, 3 people might be busy, but there's no way 40 people are all going to be busy at the same time if you're trying to reach out for some support. So get as many contacts as you can. Let friends and family know about your commitment to sobriety. And, just having that support network with you is really, really crucial. You can attend your meetings like we were talking about. They normally, a lot of times over the holidays, a lot of meeting places increase the frequency during the holidays. They might even have marathon meetings, which are so fun. So usually like 24 hours a day, there's like meetings going on that you can attend. And it's a really fun day to be around your people. You want to stay connected, so you don't want to ignore all your connections the entire time that you're celebrating the holidays. And you want to focus on self-care. What is that? What is self-care? I mean, really, I guess it's different to everybody, but prioritize sleep. What happens when we're tired? That can impact our mood. That can make us grumpy. That can make us make bad decisions. So let's make sure that we're sleeping adequate amount of time every night so we don't end up making some dumb fucking decision that we super, super regret. Exercise. Physical activity can be a great stress reliever and mood enhancer. I don't see anything wrong with if you're visiting family, if you have a routine like, hey, family, I do yoga every morning and then I do this. Like, what's wrong with sticking to a routine through the holidays? Nothing. It's commendable, if anything. So exercise, healthy eating, maintain a balanced diet to support your overall well-being. This can also be difficult during the holidays, but is it? No. Just make sure when you're eating your ham or your turkey, you get some broccoli. I think that's as easy as it is. I don't know. Just make sure you eat. Make sure you eat. You want to practice mindfulness, right? So meditation, deep breathing, to manage stress. Set realistic expectations. Don't pressure yourself to meet unrealistic expectations. Focus on enjoying the present moment. And that's also true with if you're planning on doing any kind of amends when you go home. Definitely set some healthy expectations, realistic expectations, because you don't want, there's still a lot of people that are ignorant, even with the internet and all the talk on the opioid epidemic and all this stuff. You're still going to have family members who go, well, you stopped drinking 10 years ago. You can't have a beer. Well, beer wasn't your thing. Crack was your thing. You can't have a beer, or you can't smoke weed, or you can't do this, or why do you still have to go to those meetings? Or they'll, have tell a lot of funny stories about how you robbed your mom's jewelry or whatever. And some of that might be funny to you now, or for some people it's not. Some people still feel really bad about those things, and maybe it could trigger something. So just set realistic expectations. And as I like to do is give people grace. Give people grace to not understand your recovery. Give people grace to not understand why you're doing it or any of those things or what it means to you. If you can educate them, sure, do it. But I don't think that we need to explain ourselves to anybody or the decisions that we make for our personal bodies. Just saying. So create new traditions. This is one of my favorite ones because this is like what I was just talking about. This is the time to create new traditions. If you don't feel connected to whatever Christmas meant to you or to your family growing up or whatever it is, you can you're an adult now. This is your time to shine, baby. You can do whatever you want. So engage in sober activities or mentally healthy activities, things that don't involve alcohol. Go to concerts, volunteer. Help others during the holidays, right? You can go feed people. You can go give things to people. You can go bring blankets. You can buy gifts for little kids whose parents can't afford to buy them gifts. There's so many like feel good things that you can do around the holidays. I definitely suggest getting involved in those things and making it a tradition every year. You could do your own toy drive or food drive. You could, teach people stuff. You could give free haircuts. I mean, depending on your resources and your skill set, there's so many different things that each person can do to give back to society. I think it's a great thing to do over the holidays. You can host your own gatherings. So don't want to go to your family member's house or whoever, host your own. Have people come over. You can take spins on, maybe games that are traditionally used with alcohol and make it not. Get eggnog that doesn't have the rum grum in it, stuff like that. And one of the most important things, especially in early recovery, is to have a relapse prevention plan. So you want to identify your triggers. Okay, so every time you fight with your dad, he makes you feel like a bad person, and that makes you get a case of the fuckets, and then you want to get high, right? So we know that that's a trigger. We want to keep our emergency contacts, which we spoke about. The more, the merrier. You can educate people if you'd like. You can educate your family and friends, help your loved ones understand your commitment. And you can also have, professional help, a therapist, if you're still struggling, right? You can use emergency hotlines. They have phone numbers that you can call and speak with individuals, like 211 or is it 811? One of them. Don't call 911. I mean, unless you need to, right? And also, most important, celebrate your achievements. You're doing so freaking good, bro. You're killing it. I don't even know your story. I don't know who's listening, but I already know you're killing it. Even if you're not in recovery, I know you're killing it. Because even if you're not a person in recovery for mental health or substance use, you could go through a lot of stressful and hurtful and frustrating situations over the holidays. There's people who have bad memories growing up from the holidays, and sometimes when this time of year comes around, it maybe festers those feelings and they come up in ways maybe we don't expect. And so this kind of time of the year just brings a lot up for people. And so it's important to have grace with yourself and, like I said earlier, grace with others. You want to be kind to yourself and you want to forgive mistakes. So if you find yourself in a challenging situation, forgive yourself and refocus on your commitment to having a healthy life, right? I mean, we're going to yell at people. We're going to have days where we're not perfect. I mean, that is just the reality of life. None of us are ever going to be perfect. And just like, nature's pretty perfect, but everything looks different, right? Like I'm looking at trees out here who are missing limbs and part of them are dying. And that's just like how life is, right? Again, we can't have that light without the darkness. For me, December is always like a super introspective time because not only is my birthday in December 28th, this year I'll be 34. Oh my God, I'm getting so fucking old. I think about like, I never fucking thought this would happen to me. Not like in a bad way. Like it's great. Like, oh my God, thank God I'm alive. Like that's so good. That's so perfect. I'm so glad to be here with you guys. But I don't know why I never considered this being a thing that I would go through, becoming an adult. And I'm like, when do you start feeling like a grown up? Because that hasn't happened yet. Does that happen at some point? I see people with kids and I'm thinking do they feel more grown up than me or they feel like me with a kid? Because that sounds terrible. I don't know. It's just, I didn't think. So, 34 is old. That's almost 35. Mid 30s? Oh, well, gross. Looking good though. Feel good. Besides my knees and my neck and my back. Wow. But granted, those things have hurt for a very long time since my 20s. So yeah. So anyway, it's my birthday. It's my anniversary, 15 years this month. And obviously it's the new year and and Christmas and all of that stuff. So, all of the big days of my year are really within like a couple weeks in December. And so it's definitely the time of year where everything kind of hits me like, okay, what did I accomplish this year? What did I want to do? What did I actually do? Again, and we talked about this many episodes ago. That's why it's important to write your goals down, because if you don't write your goals down, you don't know if you hit them, because you probably don't remember them because just putting things in your brain doesn't like do much for anybody, especially you. Super important to write them down. So did we hit our goals? What did we achieve? What did we work on? What could we have done better with? Like for me, like, oh my God, I've been trying to paint my kitchen for a year. I mean, Jesus, Allie, what is happening? Okay. Like get it done. Okay. I'm pretty committed to getting it done this weekend. I took the wallpaper down last weekend. So yeah. Anyway, darkness and light. We're not perfect. I hope if you guys are in the winter wonderland of the United States during the summer, that you take it as a time to eat hearty stew and to recoil under your very warm blankets and to relax and to recharge for the inevitable spring that will come for all of us. And I hope that you all enjoyed that little Christmas spirit. Can you believe they used to fine you for having Christmas spirit? What? That's crazy. That is so crazy. But I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that. I thought the history of Christmas was so interesting. I would have never thought that America basically created it. Now Christmas looks like that everywhere. It never has looked the same since we put our little spin on it. And I would love to know how you celebrate the holidays. Do you do a Yule tree? Do you do a Christmas tree? Do you do a Hanukkah bush? Happy Hanukkah, by the way. Today's the first day of Hanukkah. What do you guys do? Do you have any traditions that you've started? Maybe I can steal some good ideas from you. What are some good holiday gifts? Bitch, everything's still so fucking expensive. What's happening? I went to Nordstrom Rack yesterday and not one person was in the store. So I'm very excited to see how the economy does this holiday season. But yeah, I know on my YouTube channel, I have a few videos on like how to make sugar scrubs and like how to like do Christmas on a budget. Last year I made everybody candles, homemade candles, which actually came out pretty good. There's definitely an art to candle making. I didn't think it'd be quite so difficult, but there's definitely an art to it. That's for sure. So yeah, this year, and I'm not sure, and it's already December 8th. Oh my gosh. 20 days till my birthday, less than 3 weeks. Oh boy. I don't even know what I'm going to do. My birthday's on a Thursday and like New Year's Eve is like 3 days later. That's why they need to bring the 12 days of partying Christmas back, because then that would cover my birthday and I wouldn't even have to worry about it. There'd be a carnival outside. So, yes, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Please let me know how you're going to be celebrating this holiday, or maybe you're not going to be celebrating it, which I get that too. I love you all so much. Love Krista. Thank you so much for this, like one of the most comfortable sweatshirts I've ever worn. I love this thing so much. So thank you for that. And yes, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. My next guest is going to be a woman who works for there's a line that you can call when you're going to be like using opioids when you're by yourself. And they'll actually stay on the phone with you to make sure that like you don't overdose. And if something does happen, they'll actually send the police and paramedics to go like revive you and stuff like that. And so she actually works in that call center. So she'll be on the episode next week. By the way, every other week seems so far away. I miss hanging out with you guys every week, but I got to figure out my schedule. I mean, yeah, I got to get my schedule in order, because I would love to continue doing this weekly and hanging out with you guys weekly. But right now it's just a little hard, but every other week seems so spaced out. I miss you guys. But yes, so enjoy the winter solstice. Enjoy the sun god. Enjoy Jesus. Enjoy whoever Chinese people, mess with. Yin yang. I don't think it's a person. I think it's like a idea. And yeah, I love you all so much. Bye.